Hi, I'm Krista McGill. I'm a partner at the law firm McGill & Noble, where the majority of our practice is devoted to helping veterans with their VA compensation claims. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about PTSD claims. PTSD affects many veterans. Studies range in their reports of the actual prevalence, but almost all show a much higher rate of PTSD among veterans than is found in the general population. There are three elements needed to establish service connection for PTSD in order to receive VA benefits. First, you must have a current diagnosis of PTSD from an expert who is competent to diagnose the disorder. Second, there must be credible supporting evidence that the claimed in-service stressor actually occurred. And third, there must be medical evidence of a causal nexus between the current symptomatology and the claimed in-service stressor. Today, I'm going to talk about step one, establishing a current diagnosis of PTSD. In order for the VA to grant service connection for PTSD, PTSD must be diagnosed by a qualified medical professional. Many veterans are treated by therapists who are not doctors or psychologists. Though these providers may provide really helpful therapy, unfortunately, VA will not accept their diagnosis of PTSD to establish service connection. Instead, the diagnosis must be made by someone with a doctoral level training, namely a psychiatrist or a licensed psychologist. And it must conform to the diagnostic criteria set forth in a book known as the DSM-5. So let's talk a little bit about these all-important criteria. You can find more detail on our website, but the basic outline is as follows. The first criterion, criterion A, is establishing the stressor. What happened in service that caused PTSD? It's no surprise that military personnel are often exposed to traumatic events. In a 2014 study of U.S. veterans, for example, 87% reported exposure to at least one potentially traumatic event. In order for the stressor to meet criterion A, the veteran must have been exposed to actual or threatened death or serious injury or sexual violence. This could be by direct exposure or by witnessing the event. For example, combat exposure or witnessing a roadside bomb go off a few vehicles ahead, or an MST, a military sexual trauma. So criterion B, intrusion symptoms. This means the traumatic event is persistently re-experienced in one of the following ways: recurrent involuntary and intrusive memories, or traumatic nightmares, or dissociative reactions such as flashbacks. Maybe it's intense or prolonged distress after exposure to traumatic reminders, or marked physiologic reactivity after exposure to trauma-related stimuli. Criterion C is avoidance. This means making an effort to avoid distressing thoughts or feelings or external reminders of the trauma. And criterion D is negative alterations in cognitions and mood that began or worsened after the traumatic event. And two of these are required. For example, inability to recall key features of the traumatic event, or persistent negative beliefs and expectations about oneself or the world. It may be persistent, distorted blame of the self or others for causing the traumatic event or the resulting consequences. It may also be persistent negative traumatic related emotions like fear, horror, anger, guilt, or shame. Or perhaps markedly diminished interest in activities. Or sometimes it's a feeling of alienation from others, detachment or estrangement. Or it could be constricted affect, in other words, persistent inability to experience positive emotions. Criterion E is alterations in arousal and reactivity that began or worsened after the traumatic event. And 2 of these are also required. This may be irritable or aggressive behavior, or self-destructive or reckless behavior, or perhaps hypervigilance or an exaggerated startle response, or perhaps problems with concentration, or maybe a sleep disturbance. Criterion F is duration. That's persistence of the symptoms for more than 1 month. Criterion G is significant symptom-related distress or functional impairment. It has a significant effect on one's social or occupational endeavors. Criterion H is the exclusion criterion. That is showing that disturbance is not due to medication or substance use or some other illness. If your PTSD claim has been denied because VA states you don't have a current PTSD diagnosis, the lawyers at McGill and Noble may be able to help. It may be that all of the evidence needed is in the file, but VA failed to apply the correct legal standards in deciding your claim. We can expose those legal errors on appeal. Or perhaps the only PTSD evaluation in your file was performed by the VA C&P examiner, and he or she decided that you do not meet all of the DSM-5 criteria. We can help you get an independent psychological evaluation to assess whether you actually do meet the PTSD criteria. It may also be that you don't meet the PTSD criteria, but you do have another mental condition related to your service, even another trauma-related disorder that just doesn't meet the technical PTSD criteria. We may be able to help you build that case, pulling together the evidence and arguments needed to establish service connection based on a different theory of entitlement. So if you have a PTSD claim that has been denied and you'd like a free consultation, please give us a call at 800-921-5899. Or you can contact us through our website at www.mcgillandnoble.net or www.ncvethelp.com. In our next video, we'll discuss the second step of proving a PTSD claim. That is establishing the stressor.